Can Mirio make a return, perhaps with some help from Eri and Deku? So what's up guys, Foxen here. One of the great My Hero Academia heroes has unfortunately fallen recently. Best boy Mirio is now your everyday Joe. Normal, He might as well just quit being a hero and become a TikTok star. But hold up, could there actually be a bright future for Mirio? So go ahead and 100% Detroit smash that like, ring the bell, and let's dive into this plump My Hero Academia video. Mirio, along with the big tree, got introduced in My Hero Academia episode 62. 12 short episodes later, sorry Mirio, your almighty Quirk got snapped away. But at least the lowly got saved. If you think about it, it's actually the last time we discount that random season 4 filler episode. 11 episodes. So as a My Hero Academia manga reader, I was super hyped to finally see Mirio's big moment animated. Then the actual episode came out. Unfortunately, it does feel like Mirio got shafted twice now. Really due to the production of the second new My Hero Academia movie, along with a few other reasons. And just putting it kindly, the Mirio vs. Overhaul episode didn't at all get the treatment I thought it deserved, as did many of you. It also did not help that in the following episodes, Deku instead got some god tier animation for his big moment, which we all did enjoy. I mean, Deku is a star, which means I'm not too surprised in hindsight. I like both of the heroes anyway. But back to the hero topic and Mirio getting screwed. It really felt super long seeing the Overhaul arc actually taking place in the manga, just getting a single chapter week after week. Eventually, months after getting introduced, that's when Mirio made his own sacrifice for Eri. Switching it to the anime and taking a step back, Mirio came in at the end of My Hero Academia Season 3. Fast forward 12 episodes, Quirk destroyed. It happened so quick that it makes me feel really bad for Mirio. It almost feels like it got introduced just to get screwed over. But wait, thankfully it's not over. Time to bite into the meat of Mirio. I don't actually think that Horikoshi introduced Mirio for the sole purpose of getting run over by Overhaul. The latest episode even has evidence for this, straight from Night Eye himself. In his dying breath, you had the guy using his foresight quirk. You're gonna be okay, Mirio. You're gonna make a fine hero. So what do we have here? Ooh, possible foreshadowing? It definitely smells like something being saved for later, and I don't think this guy was just trying to be optimistic. Let's actually look at some key events involving Night Eye. Before Deku went infinite 100%, you had Dona Night Eye looking into Deku's future. This was when he claimed he didn't see a future where Eri was saved, along with Mirio and friends not being safe either. Fast forward to Ochako reaching Night Eye. The guy actually doubles down on Deku being killed by Overhaul. Night Eye then triples down on Deku being killed by the end of this episode. At this point, the guy was confused, since he previously foresaw Overhaul escaping and Deku dying in the process. Naturally, this was supposed to be that unchangeable future that did not come to pass. Instead, Deku kicked some Overhaul ass using the lowly backpack. Way to go. In Night Eye's final moment, you actually got an explanation for this change: energy. I do like how this doesn't all solely credit Deku, but everyone involved in this rescue operation. Energy being released with Deku at the center for this future changed. And let me be fair, arguably this is almost a lack of a real explanation, especially from this dying man who could just be one in a state positive, potentially a guy filled with regret. That said, there are some concrete points to look at for Deku not dying. And yes, this is besides him being the main character of My Hero Academia. You have two important facts to consider. First point, Deku being an infinite 100% one for all. Second point, the Eri backpack along with their quirk being in full effect. On the flip side, you could also look at this grimly. Deku was able to change his own future, but it did require a cost. Who just recently died? Of course, Night Eye. Let me set that aside for a second. Now, could the same actually work for Mirio? At this point, I think most of you realize something about Mirio, that the guy is not back to being this superpowered hero just yet. Otherwise, I would have brought his manga recovery up already. Time to get into My Hero Academia theory time. The return of Big 3 Mirio couldn't happen. Any of you longtime anime fans have definitely already noticed just how much My Hero Academia likes to take inspiration from past anime like Boruto's dad and Bleach. For me, I was really getting this Naruto vibe when looking at this whole Mirio quirk deletion situation. Specifically, it feels like the whole Rock Lee situation all over again. Back in Naruto, you had Rock Lee famous for his taijutsu way of fighting, really melee focused. That was all until his fight with Gaara. Rock Lee put his entire being into fighting this monster of a person. Still, not good enough. Rock Lee didn't die from the fight, but his arm and leg were permanently damaged, really just preventing him from being that super ultra ninja. Good night, Rock Lee. Fast forward to a new Hokage later. Rock Lee fully fixed, good as new, even returning to the battlefield. Just seeing this parallel, it does feel like I'm foreseeing a bright future for Mirio too. The question now becomes how. This is actually a lot easier said than done without opening this whole Pandora box of issues. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Eri. Clearly, Eri is being saved for something important, something that hasn't happened yet. I should also point out that post the overhaul events, Eri has only been seen with 2 people, either Mirio or Eraserhead, pretty often. So let's go ahead and team up Mirio and Eri. Here's a few possibilities. First one, the pretty obvious possibility of Eri reversing her own quirk. In theory, this should be possible later on. Eri would just need to grow up some, train some, and eventually be able to control her own power. Mirio has even acknowledged the possibility. Eraserhead has mentioned how Eri might be able to get Mirio back to hero status when she grows up and trains. If this possibility does happen, it does create this colossal issue. It either needs to perhaps be a one-time usage, or it definitely needs some other major restriction. Since really, if you could just have the little girl healing up people, what happens then? It would almost immediately just take away any risk from anything happening. Second possibility, which is something that I think is much more likely to happen and actually better for the My Hero Academia story. You know about how Overhaul spent countless time experimenting using Eri. Overhaul released into the market this weaker version of the quirk deleting bullet. A test, if you will. Eventually, after months and months of testing, Overhaul was able to make a handful of bullets, the real deal. I do think it would be awfully too convenient if the quirk erasing bullets were, say, still incomplete. Just trying to explain that way that whatever bullet Mirio got hit by was actually not permanent. Instead, it was only for several months or years. That would feel pretty cheap from a writing point of view. However, what if Eri, instead of reversing time to rewind Mirio, she instead could negate the effect of her own quirk? Specifically, only someone hit by one of those quirk deleting bullets. Since the quirk deletion bullet was made from Eri herself, in theory it should be possible for Eri to undo those effects. If not now, later. Think quirk evolution. This does seem similar to Eri just rewinding time back for Mirio, except with one major difference. The end result will still have Mirio back to his pretty strong quirk, except this really would be more like a one-time thing, limited to people only hit by this quirk erasing bullet. For example, with this quirk negation effect, it wouldn't be possible for Eri to revive people, or try to heal severe injuries, or even the one major thing you're all thinking of, which would be to try to restore All Might to 100% power. Third possibility. I was actually trying to think of a different situation with more consequences. How about a one-for-one type of deal, sticking to Eri and Mirio? I would actually task Horikoshi to come up with a better in-game reason for this, but the gist of this would be Eri using up her quirk entirely to return Mirio to what he once lost. This way you address both of the problems at the same time. No multi-healing or last-minute rescues in the My Hero Academia world by Eri. In return, she would just become this normal human girl, meaning having this ultimate drawback for her power with Mirio restored. Just to make it a little bit more fun for Mirio, make the guy relearn his quirk a little bit. In other words, some rehabilitation. Part of this actually goes back to that grim reality I mentioned, meaning a sacrifice being required to alter the future. If you are someone that does think that Night Eye died for Deku to live, in this case you would have Eri become quirkless so Mirio could be restored. Something gained for something that has been lost. Fourth possibility, which is something really adding on to the previous 3 options. Let's go ahead and throw some sauce into the mix. I'm talking about Deku. Arguably, Deku being at 100% was another factor involving the future being changed, which is why I strongly feel the combination of Deku, Eri, and Mirio will be used to restore Mirio back from 0 to hero. Manga readers may actually have a better idea of how Deku's power could come into play. But for now, let me give you an anime possible situation. Hey, let's get Deku back to using One For All, Infinite 100%. Combine that with the lowly backpack returning. Somewhere in the area, Eraserhead needs to get ready. Then just get Eri to channel her power into Mirio. You can see where I'm going with this. Technically, this type of situation could be replicated, but at the same time, it's definitely not easy. It requires so many pieces and a lot of setup. And definitely let me know how you feel about each of these options. What is your own Mirio returning theory? Go ahead and share below. Next up, a few other wild possibilities. Pretty unlikely, but worth a mention. First wild idea. Hey, remember that fella All For One? If All For One ever gets out, and for whatever reason happens to be feeling extremely generous towards Mirio, boom, quirk-powered Mirio returns again. Perhaps not the quirk the guy actually wants though. Again, highly extremely unlikely, but in theory it is another My Hero Academia universe way of this happening. Second wild idea. Hey Deku, feeling like sharing your One For All quirk with Mirio or just transferring it? I know, he already rejected it. And naturally Mirio would decline it again, with a smile on his face. But if this desperate situation did come about, I could see this being done temporarily. Anyway, really quickly, let me mention, my new in-depth video going over all the SEO goddesses is up. Definitely go ahead and check that out next. But hey, that's just a My Hero Academia theory. Let me know, do you want to see Mirio return? Go ahead and watch my SEO god video next. What are all the special powers for the Underworld god accounts? Definitely subscribe since I know a lot of you guys watching aren't subbed yet. And I'll see you guys later.